This is the tragic tale of Tyler Tabor, a young man whose addiction to prescription opioids took him to a place neither he nor his family knew existed.
The numbers are staggering. Over just a 5-year period, heroin abuse has nearly doubled in America.
It's destroying families. It's shattering communities all across the country. And that's the thing about substance abuse. It doesn't discriminate.
We basically have reaped what we've sown as far as opiate use in the country.
According to ER physician Dr. Michael Jobin, the rise in heroin addiction is directly related to the broader use of prescription medications for pain management.
You'd be surprised at how many patients get into the addiction pattern from one prescription of narcotics.
Of the 20,000 inmates who served time in the Justice Center behind me last year, the Sheriff's Office says 9,800 or so had what they call heroin detox events.
Addiction is not a crime. It's a medical illness.
The war on drugs has proven over and over and over again that we throw valuable, scarce dollars down a rat hole to punish people who need help.
For civil rights attorney David Lane, it's an issue of grave concern, especially with the growing reliance by the corrections system on private vendors to manage inmate care and housing.
I've had case after case where private medical care providers, in an effort to save $20, don't give somebody prescription medicine and they die.
Meet Corizon, the country's largest prison healthcare company. Corizon treats more than 300,000 prisoners nationwide. The word treats is used loosely.
How do these profit-driven correctional health corporations keep their CEO well-paid and their shareholders happy? By focusing on profit over prisoners. With gross revenues exceeding $1 billion, companies like Corizon have found a way to profit from the endless supply of low-value assets, prisoners, junkies.
Because they are so profit-driven, patient care is of virtually no concern whatsoever. Their attitude is, these guys are prisoners. Who really cares?
Such was the case for young Tyler Tabor.
Tyler was my firstborn. He was a wonderful baby, every parent's joy, very playful, active, outgoing.
He was very full of energy. He was a beautiful baby.
Tyler was the type of kid that could walk up to pretty much anybody and become friends with him.
Me and Tyler would go out and ride bicycles or go to the skate park on skateboards, just anything adventurous. Everything he would do, I'd try to copy him.
He would always make sure that I was safe, and we would always go do stuff together. He loved taking me fishing.
And me.
And Dustin.
This was a kid that made a bad choice, and unfortunately getting involved in drugs eats you up.
Tyler was injured while welding. He hurt his back and was prescribed some painkillers.
There was a doctor that was prescribing Tyler medication where he could just call and they would give him the prescription without being seen.
Once Tyler started taking the prescription painkillers, he kind of got hooked on them. And, I knew about that. He would talk to me about his addictions, and that's where we was stepping in and getting him, trying to get him the help he needed.
He wanted to straighten up his life.
Tyler Tabor got arrested on a warrant.
The kid had never had a felony. Tyler never had a felony of any kind.
He went into the Adams County Jail. A $300 bond was set on him. And his parents, who loved him dearly, decided, you know what, we could bail him out with $300, but he'd just go back to using drugs.
I felt like, if we don't keep him in here, that we will lose him.
Unbeknownst to his parents, the jail did absolutely nothing.
Tyler was in a room designed to help patients in withdrawal state. They had beds on the floors, they couldn't fall out. They had limited access to anything that they could hurt themselves with. And the prison medical staff were watching them in a limited degree. And because he wasn't improving like most patients do with opiate withdrawal, they should have been able to see that and not let it go on for so long.
The quality of care has to matter more than the dollar value of every pill they give out. We have videotape after videotape of Tyler going to the bathroom in his cell, going to the toilet in his cell and vomiting. And he's not able to hydrate because every time he drinks something, he throws it up.
He had prolonged and repeated episodes of vomiting over several days without the ability to take in much water or fluids or food.
Tyler couldn't even hold a cup to take a drink of water.
To take his own medicine.
Tyler was very sick, ringing the button in the jail for 12, 15 times, begging for help, begging for IVs.
The simple solution to that is give him an IV.
He kept trying to get attention or get help and then kept falling down to the point that his 2 other prisoners that were in his room with him tried to help him.
Over the course of 3 days, they did nothing. They did nothing. They didn't give him an IV, and when asked about it, a nurse said, well, we only like to do that for extreme situations. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? This man is dying, and you're not thinking this is an extreme situation? He's so weak, he can't stand up.
Obviously, they knew that there was a problem. He didn't just wake up Sunday and have dehydration.
Tyler passed away in jail.
The sheriff came to the door and told me I had to make a phone call to the Adams County coroner. And I called the coroner and they told me that it was a stomach aneurysm is what Tyler passed away from. So I went with that, and that's what I thought had happened when I walked down to the mailbox 12 weeks later to get the autopsy report. And I read through it. You know, I'm not a medical examiner, but everything in there said that my son was a perfectly healthy 25-year-old that passed away from dehydration with no drugs in his system.
It wouldn't have taken serious or exotic medical treatments to help him. Typically, just taking his pulse and blood pressure would have decided that he was truly dehydrated.
I made several phone calls to the Adams County coroner. The last phone call I made was talking to the lady, and she basically told me in a roundabout way that if Adams County Jail would have given the IV, that me and her wouldn't be having a conversation.
Intravenous fluids probably would have been the lifesaver for him.
I have 3 sons. I watched that tape, and I think that could have been any of my kids. And to die like a dog in a jail cell, you know, when you have family that loves you, when you are so easily treated, is simply an outrage.
I couldn't tell Dustin about his dad.
The day of my son Tyler's funeral, we took Dustin to buy him some new clothes. The little cashier lady, you know, looked at Dustin and said, boy, these are some special clothes. You must be doing something special. And Dustin looked back up at her and he said, yeah, I'm going to my daddy's funeral today. We were sitting on the couch one afternoon, just having popcorn, watching a movie. He looked at me and he said, Grandpa, he said, am I ever going to have another daddy? And I said, you know, Dustin, I said, you got 2 grandpas that love you. And I said, we'll be your new daddies for a while.
Tyler Tabor was in jail on a misdemeanor warrant. It could have been your brother, it could have been your son, it could have been your father, it could have been your friend. You don't have to be a vile, horrible criminal to be thrown in jail. He was in jail for 3 days and he died.
I trusted the jail because I was always told That's a good first place to start to get help.
They pretty much destroyed a family. I mean, they hurt a lot of people from what they did.
I think they looked at my son Tyler as another junkie coming off the street that didn't matter. No big deal.
They should have known what was going on with my son.
They see so many of these patients arrive in this situation, and most of them get through it just fine. And so recognizing when someone is not in the improving track is the important part of that whole thing.
To this day, I'm asking myself what's worse than what happened to Tyler. I just don't get how they can deny him an IV when he's asking for it. Everybody I've talked to, every medical facility that I have talked to, which is several, has told me the same thing, that if they would have listened to Tyler, that knew what he needed to detox, we wouldn't be having this conversation, period. You know, they deal with addicts all the time. After doing some research on the Adams County Jail, it was actually the fifth death in less than 8 months in that jail. If that is not a red flag and a pattern, or whatever they call it, I don't get it. How is that okay?
The unfortunate aspect of the American civil justice system is that no matter what kind of human pain and suffering goes into the machine on one end, the only thing the machine can do is spit money out the other end. The money hit to the government has to be so substantial that it raises the eyebrows of either the bureaucrats in power or the public that is voting for these bureaucrats. But how many people have to die before this happens?
Arizona taxpayers pay $125 million a year to Horizon, the company that provides health care to the state's inmates. But tonight there are questions about whether the company is cutting corners in order to drive up its profits.
I saw documentation of everything from not treating an HIV-positive prisoner to inmates not getting antipsychotic meds. Why should we care? Well, every day Horizon dispenses health care, you pay $339,000, whether it does its job or not.
Our experience in serving jail inmates runs long and deep, and we tailor that expertise along with our unmatched resources to fit the specific, unique needs of every single facility.
We serve every client the same way, as if they were our only client.
How many people have to die before we pay attention? Horizon continues landing lucrative contracts while people like Tyler Tabor pay the price.